Factoring trinomials becomes more difficult when the leading coefficient is not 1, but we apply the same techniques that we learned to use when we factored easier problems. Let's review. When you multiply two binomials using the FOIL method, first you multiply the two first terms in your binomial factors. 2x times x will give you 2x squared. Then, for the outside two terms, when we multiply these two outside terms, we have negative 10x. For the inside terms, multiplying our inside terms, we have a positive 3x. And then L for last terms. Our last terms multiplied together here will give us a negative 15 since we have opposite signs. Adding our two middle terms together, we have 2x squared minus 7x minus 15. Now let's remember that from this solution, we learned that this first term is the result of multiplying the first terms of our two factors. That's the f. The last term here is the result of multiplying the last two terms in our factors. That's the L. But our middle term is the result of adding together the outside product and the inside product. This middle term is outside plus inside. When we reverse the process of multiplication and look for factors, we will start with the first term and try factors of this first term in our first positions in our binomial factors. We will try factors of our third term in the last positions in our binomial factors. Then we will have to check to see if the outside product plus the inside product gives us our middle term. We also remember that our third term will be negative when our factors have opposite signs like this one. If our two factors have the same signs, this third term here would be positive. And remember, if these are both plus signs, the middle term would also be positive, but if these are both negatives, then that middle term would be negative. Let's look at our list of things to remember as we do factoring. Always look for a greatest common factor. If there is one, factor it out first. Remember that this helps us to make sure we have factored completely, and also by taking that factor out first, we're making the other numbers in the problem smaller, making it easier to find those factors. If the third term is positive, the factors will have like signs. The signs will be the same as the sign of the middle term. If the third term is negative, the factors will have opposite signs. The sign of the middle term will determine where those signs go. Remember that factoring is a guess and check process. We will guess the factors that might work and then check to see if it does give us the trinomial that we're trying to factor. But we want to make good guesses based on these principles that we've looked at. And we don't want to waste time trying guesses that could not possibly work. Let's do a factoring problem now. 2x squared plus 13x plus 21. Look first for a common factor. These three terms do not have a common factor, so we're ready to do our guess and check process. We will start with the first term here. The only possible factors for 2x squared would be 2x times 1x. So we will write those down in our first positions in our binomial factors. Now, our third term is positive, so we know we will have like signs. Since the middle term is also positive, both of these signs will be plus signs, so we can go ahead and put those signs in. We will try factors of our third term to go in our positions here. Our possible choices are 21 times 1 and 3 times 7. Remember, the outside product and the inside product added together must give us 13x. The other thing to notice here is that the number that we choose to put here will be multiplied by 2x, so the number here will be doubled. Since both of these are plus signs, we will be adding these together to get the middle term. Looking at these factors, since 21 is already more than 13, this is probably not a good choice. Let's try the numbers 3 and 7 and see if we can make those work. I notice that if I put a 7 here, 7 times 2x would be 14x. That's more than 13x. So I think I would rather try the 3 here and the 7 here. My outside product here is 6x. The inside product is 7x. These are both plus signs. Adding those together, we have 13x, and positive 7 times positive 3 is a positive 21. So these two factors do give us the required polynomial here. Recall also that these do not have to be written in this order. It is okay to write x plus 3 times 2x plus 7 because these are the same two factors, but just in a different order than these. Our factors must be alike, but the order is not important. Two x squared minus 11x plus 15. Again, I do not see a common factor in this problem. So we will go ahead and try some possibilities. Again, the only factors of 2x squared would have to be 2x times 1x. Again, we have like signs because our third term is positive. But notice this time, both of our signs will be negative signs. Let's put in those two negative signs here. We will be trying factors of 15 to go here. Our choices are 15 times 1 and 3 times 5. Our outside product plus our inside product must give us negative 11. With these having like signs, that means these need to add up to 11. Also, whatever goes here is going to be multiplied by 2. 15 seems to be too big if we're trying to get 11, so let's try our 3 and our 5 here. If I put 5 here, I will have a 10x. That would leave a 3 here. Well, 10 and 3 is 13. So let's try repositioning and putting the 5 here and the 3 here. My outside product is now a negative 6x. The inside product is negative 5x. These do add up to negative 11x. And negative 5 times negative 3 is our positive 15. So the factors are 2x minus 5 times x minus 3. Three x squared plus 11x minus 4. I do not see a common factor here. The only factors of our first term would be 3x times 1x. This time my third term is negative, which tells me these will be opposite signs. When I have opposite signs, I do not want to put the signs in until the very end. I do know that I will be using factors of 4 to go in these positions. My choices are either 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. Since these factors are going to have opposite signs, my outside and inside product will also have opposite signs. That means I will really be finding the difference between these numbers to get this 11 right here. So let's look at our choices and see what we might do. Since I'm wanting to have a difference of 11, I might need larger numbers this time. Let's look at this 1 and 4. I'm thinking about putting 4 here because that gives me an outside product of 12x. That would leave 1 for this position, and that product would be 1x. Since these would have opposite signs, their difference is 11. I want this to be a positive 11, so 12 should be positive and 1 negative to give me that positive 11x. That means my outside product needs to be positive, and the plus sign would go in the factor x plus 4. The minus sign then would go here. So we do have our 3x squared, we have our 11x for the middle term, and negative 1 times positive 4 is negative 4. (6x squared minus 5x minus 4). Again, I do not see a common factor in this problem. This time, I notice, however, that there are 2 choices of factors for my first term. I could have 6x times 1x for 6x squared, or I could have 2x times 3x. Now, we just have to decide which of these we would like to try first. Sometimes I will do this. If my middle term looks fairly small, I will usually try the smaller numbers like 2 and 3 before trying the larger number like 6. That does not always work, but a lot of times it does. If this middle term had been a fairly large number, I would have tried the 6 before the 2 and the 3. I'm going to try the 2x times the 3x and see what happens with that choice. If this is not successful, then we will come back and try the other combination of 6x and 1x. I notice here that I'm going to have opposite signs, so again, I don't want to put those signs in until the very end. Choices of factors for this third term would be 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. With opposite signs, these outside and inside products will have opposite signs, so I need to find a difference of those products to be 5. The number I put here is going to be multiplied by 2, and the number I put here is going to be multiplied by 3. Let's see if we can arrange this to come up with a 5. If I put 4 here and 1 here, let's check this possibility. My outside product is 8x. My inside product is 3x. The difference between 8x and 3x is 5x. I want this 5x to be negative. So if this is negative 8x and positive 3x, I would get that. To have a negative 8x for this outside product, my negative sign needs to go in this second factor. That leaves the plus sign for this one. Checking, we have 6x squared for the first term. We have our outside and inside product adding together to be negative 5x, and positive 1 times negative 4 is our negative 4 third term. So our factors are 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 4. (7x squared plus x minus 3). I do not see a common factor here. The only possible factors of my first term would have to be 7x times 1x. I notice that I will have opposite signs again in this problem. I also only have one choice for the factors of this third term, 1 times 3, but I have to remember that those could go in either location, so I need to look at that and see if I will be able to get this solution up here. With opposite signs here, I will be finding a difference of 1. If I put a 3 here, I would have a 21x. That would be a 1x here. The difference there would be 20, not 1. If I reverse that and put the 1 here and the 3 here, I have a 7x and a 3x. The difference here also is not 1. Since these were the only choices, and it's impossible for me to get this middle term of positive 1x, this particular problem will not factor. When a problem will not factor, we say that it is prime. I have two problems here that I would like for you to try now. These will be similar to the examples that we have worked. You need to pause your tape, copy these problems down, and work them out. When you have finished, then you may come back and we will work through these same two problems so that you can check your answers. Let's take a look and see how you did with these two problems. 6x squared plus 17x plus 5 did not have a common factor. You should have noticed for this first term that your choices were 6x times 1x or 2x times 3x. I'm looking at this 17 here in the middle and thinking perhaps I might want to use the larger factor of 6 first. I'm not sure that that will work. Let me take a look and see. I will have same signs, both positive. So let's put those signs in. I only have one choice for this third term. The factors must be 1 and 5. Looking at my outside and inside product, I need to place either the 1 here or here and the 5 in the other position. Whatever number I put here will be multiplied times 6x. So I don't think the 5 would work here. That would be 30, which is way too much. If I try the 1 here and the 5 here, I have a positive 6x outside product and a positive 5x inside product, which does not give me 17x. It only gives me 11x. So that choice did not work. So let's go back and try the 2x times the 3x. Again, I know the signs are both plus signs. Now let's see if we can arrange the numbers 1 and 5 to produce that 17. If I put the 5 here and the 1 here, my outside product is a positive 2x. My inside product is a positive 15x. That does give me my middle term of 17x, and positive 5 times positive 1 is my positive 5 third term. So the correct factors are 2x plus 5 and 3x plus 1. 6x squared plus 29x minus 5. Again, there is not a common factor. Our choices are 6x times 1x or 2x times 3x again. Now 29 really is a big number, so I'm going to try the larger numbers, 6x first. 6x times 1x gives me my first term of 6x squared. I notice that I will have opposite signs in this problem. The only choices are 1 times 5. Since I have opposite signs, I will be finding a difference of 29. So if I place the 5 here and the 1 here, my outside product is 30x, my inside product is 1x, the difference here is 29. Since I want a positive 29, this needs to be a positive 30 and a minus 1. Following this around, that places the plus sign in the second factor and a negative sign here. The correct factors are 6x minus 1 and x plus 5. Until now, we have not done problems that had a common factor. So let's do some now that we will have a common factor and see how that works. Notice with these three terms, all of the numbers are divisible by 2. So we can factor out a 2. Dividing 2 into 4x squared, I have 2x squared. Dividing here, I get a minus 13x. And dividing a positive 30 by 2 gives me a positive 15. Always at this point, you should remultiply here and make sure that you do have this correct polynomial here. We can check that this is a correct factorization up to this point. Now, we're going to bring this common factor of 2 down. It is one of our factors, and we don't want to lose that factor. But we're going to try to factor this trinomial here some more. For this first term, my only choices would be 2x times 1x. I notice that I will have same signs, both negative. Let's put those in. For these numbers, I need to use factors of 15. My choices are 1 times 15 and 3 times 5. Since I have the same signs here, I need these to add up to 13. I think 15 is too big. Using these two, if I place the 5 here and the 3 here, my outside product is negative 10x. My inside product is negative 3x. This adds up to the negative 13x in the middle. And negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. This time, my factors consisted of 3 factors. 2 times 2x minus 3 times x minus 5. Remember again, the order that we place these factors in is not important, but having the same factors is. We do, however, always place a single monomial factor like this in front so that it does not require parentheses around it. So I could write the x minus 5 as the second factor, and 2x minus 3 as the third factor. That also would be a correct listing here. Now looking at this problem, it doesn't appear that there is a common factor, but notice that our leading coefficient is negative this time. Generally, when we factor trinomials, we're used to having that leading term to have a positive sign. So what we're going to do here is treat negative 1 as a common factor. When we factor out a negative 1, we write the negative, but the 1 is understood in front of this parenthesis. Dividing negative 1 into negative 4x squared, we get positive 4x squared. Dividing negative 1 into negative 19x, we get a positive 19x. And a negative 1 divided into positive 5 is a negative 5. Now let's check. A negative 1 times this is negative. A negative times a positive is our negative 19, and a negative times a negative is our positive 5. So we are correct at this point. Now let's bring that negative down. Remember, that's a negative 1 factor that we do not want to lose here. For our first term, we have 2 choices: 4x times 1x or 2x times 2x. We will have opposite signs in this problem, and 19 is a fairly large number, so I'm going to try the 4x and the 1x first. If this choice does not work, I'll need to remember to come back and try the 2x times the 2x. The only choices for my third term are 5 times 1. I'm going to have opposite signs here, so I need to have a difference of 19. If I place the 5 here, I'm going to get a 20x. The 1 here gives me 1x. This difference is 19. I need a positive 20 and a minus 1 to get positive 19x. So my outside product needs to be a positive product. That will place the positive sign in front of the 5, and my negative sign will go here. My 3 factors are negative 1, 4x minus 1, and x plus 5. (6x squared minus 16xy minus 8y squared). These numbers are all divisible by 2, so we have a common factor of 2. None of my variables is common to all 3 terms, so I cannot factor out any of those variables. Dividing by 2 up here, we have 3x squared minus 8xy minus 4y squared. Multiplying this out, I can see that at this point I do have the correct factors. Now let's see if we can factor this trinomial more. The only choice for my first term here would be 3x times 1x. I will have opposite signs in my two factors. My choices for this third term is 4y times 1y or 2y times 2y. We want our outside plus inside product to be negative 8xy. Looking at these choices, if I try the 2y and the 2y here, my outside product is 6xy. My inside product is 2xy. Now those add up to 8, but remember my signs are opposite. So if these have opposite signs, I would only get a 4xy, either positive or negative depending on these signs. I cannot get 8. I cannot use like signs here because this third term is negative. So this choice is not going to work. Let's try bringing the 2 down. Again, we have to have 3x times 1x. Let's try this other choice of 4 and 1. If I put 4 here and 1 here, my outside product would be a 12. My inside would be 1. The difference between 12 and 1 is 11. It is not 8. If I try the 1 here and the 4 here, I have a 3 and a 4 whose difference is 1. Again, not 8. This trinomial here cannot be factored anymore. So this would be the only way that I would factor this trinomial. It only has this common factor of 2. (15x cubed y) minus 24x squared y squared plus 9x y cubed. Looking at these numbers, I notice that I can divide all of these numbers by 3. So let's write that 3 down. But notice also there are x's in all 3 of these terms, the smallest exponent being 1, so I can factor out x to the first power. Also, there are y's in all 3 terms. Smallest exponent again is 1. 3xy is my common factor. Dividing 3xy into 15x cubed y gives me 5x squared. Let's check this. This is 15x cubed y. That is the correct first term. Dividing 3xy into our middle term, we get a negative 8xy. Multiplying these, we get negative 24x squared y squared. And then dividing our third term by 3xy, we get a positive 3y squared. Multiplying these, we have 9xy cubed. So at this point, we know our factors are correct. Bring down 3xy. Our choices for our first term would only be 5x times 1x. Since my third term is positive, I have to have like signs. This tells me both of these signs will be negative signs, so let's go ahead and put those in. I only have one choice for this third term. It has to be 3y times 1y, but remember where I place those numbers is very important. Since my signs are alike, I will be adding to get 8. I don't want to put the 3 here because that would make 15, which is already too big for 8. So let's try the 1y here and the 3y here. My outside product is negative 5xy. The inside product is negative 3xy. This adds up to negative 8xy. And notice when I multiply my last terms, I do get a positive 3y squared. So my 3 factors are 3xy, 5x minus 3y, and x minus y. Now again, I have a couple of problems here that I would like for you to try. So once more, if you will pause your tape, work these out, then when you come back, we will work through these with you. Let's check your answers. 18x squared minus 33x minus 21. These numbers are all divisible by 3. Dividing by 3, we get 6x squared minus 11x minus 7. Bring down your common factor of 3. We have two choices for the first term, 6x times 1x, or 2x times 3x. We will have opposite signs since our third term is negative. That means we'll be finding a difference of 11. Let's try these numbers 2x times 3x here. Opposite signs means the difference will be 11x. We have to try factors of 7. We only have one choice for that, 7 times 1. Let's see if we can place that to get a difference of 11. Remember that what's placed here is multiplied by 2, and whatever is placed here is multiplied by 3. If I put a 7 here and a 1 here, my outside product is 14x. The inside product is 3x. The difference between these is 11. I wanted that to be negative. If this is negative 14x and positive 3x, I do get that middle term of negative 11x. My outside product being negative places the negative sign in my second factor, and I need the plus sign then in the first factor. You should have written 3, 2x plus 1, and 3x minus 7. These could have been in another order, remember. Negative 5x cubed y squared plus 17x squared y cubed minus 6xy to the fourth. Our numbers do not have a common factor, but did you notice that the leading term this time is negative? So we would like to factor out negative 1. Let's put that minus sign down. But notice that there are x's in every term, the smallest exponent being 1, so we can factor out x to the first power. On the y's, there are also y's in every term. The smallest exponent is y squared, so let's factor out y squared. Our common factor is negative x y squared. Dividing negative xy squared into negative 5x cubed y squared, we get a positive 5 x to the second power. Multiplying these, notice we do get negative 5x cubed y squared. Dividing our middle term by a negative will give us a negative sign, 17. We will have 1x and y also to the first power. Multiplying these, we would get a positive 17 x squared y cubed. Dividing our third term by a negative, we will get a positive 6. There will not be any x's left. Dividing by y squared, we get y squared here. This is negative 6 x y to the fourth. So at this point, we're correct. Bring down negative x y squared. We're going to see if we can factor this trinomial. The only choice here is 5x times 1x. We will have same signs, both negative. We have two choices of factors for this third term. It could be 6y times 1y or 2y times 3y. Our outside plus inside products with same signs will be added. We're trying to get a 17 here. Let's try these numbers. If I put 3y here and 2y here, my outside product, notice, is negative 15xy. The inside product is negative 2xy. These add to negative 17xy. Negative times a negative is a positive 6y squared. My factors are negative xy squared times 5x minus 2y times x minus 3y. This completes our lesson on factoring general trinomials. We would appreciate it if you would rewind this tape before you turn it in so that it will be ready for the next student. Thank you very much.